Welcome everyone to Dungeon Apes, episode 4?
4.
We're on episode 4.
4. Yes.
We have a special guest today. Garrett Gunn. Introduce yourself, man.
I'm Garrett Gunn.
He did it. I did it.
What do you do, Garrett? What do you do for a living?
I do nothing professionally. But I write comic books and I hang out here.
Yes.
Garrett also
I think on my Facebook it says like I'm a volunteer vice president of fuckery at Average Ape. I think is like my official title. But yeah.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
What are titles?
I don't know.
Titles are a construct. So
Yeah.
I agree. It's a break away from
self-built
titles.
hierarchy.
Mm-hmm. But Garrett plays Hammond the Horrible on
that's what you wanted.
Yes.
on our show.
Yeah.
I play Hammond.
Kind of. Yeah, there we go.
Hammond the Horrible.
There it is.
Yeah.
On,
I'm trying to be quiet when I say it now, though.
Yeah, it's good
I
because
don't
like
want to
the
go
audio
full
it
Hammond.
just
You never go full Hammond.
never go full Hammond.
It's like my new
It's
life
too much.
motto.
Yeah, it's too much.
So Garrett, welcome for being here. Travis, Steven, and myself,
You're welcome
Drew
for me
Silva.
being here. He's trying to be all professional with this, and I'm like, let me show him fuck up your whole system.
Okay.
We actually don't try to be too professional on this one, which is nice.
Okay, good. The minute he did the hand clap to try to start, I was done.
It helps me on my side.
No, I'm
I
sure.
know.
Sure. But he was like, all right, so welcome.
Straight
face.
Deadpan.
Yep.
We're about to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. There will be no smiling.
No talking.
There will be no enjoying
You
this.
can't use your face.
It's professional.
You can't
Ventriloquist
use your face
speaking
and
only.
immediately moved your mouth.
Yeah, do it.
All right, so today's topic, I kind of want to talk about mechanics as far as how they work when you're playing a game. So, when you're walking through a dungeon, and as a DM, I will tell you this: you write a great campaign, you're super excited. Nothing is more frustrating than your players like, you're in a room. There's 3 bookshelves in the room. One book is ajar, and all of your players go, "Is there a door?" Yes, there's a door on the side of the room. But across from that door is a candelabrum, and this candelabrum only has 1 candle lit.
I go in the door.
Everyone's
I
like,
feel personally attacked.
yeah, we'll just go to the door.
I'm like, is there anything to fight in here? No, nothing.
That's why I start
All right,
drawing.
next
That's why I
room.
start drawing my hook.
Yeah.
I draw it and I make a little like spool and thing and I just like hold it up.
And explain,
they're like-
explain what you do with that.
So that's my indication to let the other players know in the room that maybe is directly talking to the DM at that time that is your hook to do
I
something
have
with.
literally never seen you do that.
I've done it twice. I've drawn a hook. Well, it's because usually it's not to you. It's usually across the table here or here, and I
Is it
literally
because I'm a
draw the
lost
hook.
cause or because...
No, because you
Just don't.
get some of those things already.
Oh, okay.
Whereas other people, I'm like, and it's a one-on-one conversation. Like he might be talking to them because they're the only one in
feel
that
you.
room, and I'm like,
I got you.
this is your hook.
I figured it was just like Garrett's just like the special boy that like comes in and hits things and tries to have sex with things.
Just
or
let him do his
tears
thing.
down civilizations
It's
based on
fine.
putting
He's
his
going to
dick
do what he's
places
got
he
to do.
shouldn't.
But yeah, the DM, my hook sign has been very effective.
I have to look out for that now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm gonna start doing it with it.
This is a mechanic. What I would like to see happen, and what all DMs like to see, is when you guys are in an instance, and players at home, when you're in an instance, a dungeon, a room, always ask, what do I notice? Is there anything going on? Can I make a perception check? Can I make an insight check? All of these things, if your DM's has thought ahead, he'll always say yes to these things. Sure, make a check. And then there's some sort of lore or some sort of carrot dangling in front of something exciting to happen. I can tell you pretty much every single one of my instances, I have like really cool things hidden. And if they get passed over, they get passed over. If they don't, then it's like a super reward for, asking those mechanics, using your perception,
What's the difference between an insight check and a perception check?
So an insight is going to use your wisdom modifier.
So it's like not just whether you perceive it, but if you know anything about the item.
Correct.
Okay.
So
I should have been doing insight so much more.
I was going to say,
yeah, insight's more of like, how you feel about someone's personality, the way they're talking, their demeanor. So, if
it's like catching a vibe.
So last week, if Hammond would have done an insight check on the guy he was talking to, if you were unsure that he was interested in you, you'd be like, can I make an insight check? And I'd be like, you roll a 20, like, yeah, this dude's very much interested in you, and now you know.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas perception's more of like
You're
roll a
around your
perception
surroundings.
check. Yeah. Okay, this
Situational
guy has
awareness, like,
cuff
oh, yeah.
burns on both of his arms. That would be more of a perception versus
On that
insight.
same thing. So like your perception check, you're like, oh, he's got cuff burns on his stuff. And then you're doing an insight check and you're like, oh, I know that slaves from this whatever usually have
You
like
can combine
this
them up.
whatever.
So actually, one thing that I was curious about that I think ties into this that we hit a little bit in one of our episodes, I think it was like 2 episodes ago, when Anders was leaving the town. We saw him, you dangled that carrot of him like trying to be sneaky and getting away. Right. And then I like reached out to be like, hey, to see if we can get something out of him. Was that something that needed to be pursued further?
So I don't set anything up for it to need to be pursued or not pursued anymore. What I do is I leave it open to your players. It's your guys' world. It's your guys' sandbox. What Anders is interesting because Anders, the leader of the Redeemed and the leader of the Enclave member that's stationed, next episode you guys are going to get some great information that'll tie a lot of threads that people were like missing together. They're not related though. Okay. So I'm gonna give a little lore bit to people watching, and we might do this each episode to people that like to watch Adventaria if they want a little extra lore bit. Those 3 know each other. And I won't explain how, but they're not related. But I won't explain how. But that's going to come to.
I mean, if you're not stupid, I kind of like got that already, that they knew each other based on like the interactions they've had.
True, but
they weren't just like, I don't know who you are, but fuck off.
Right.
It was like, what did I tell you about blah blah blah? And you're like, oh shit, this guy's fucked up before.
It's going to be interesting.
I just want to be friends with the big bald Viking. I just want to be his friend.
I think it might happen.
And you guys are going to have a lot of different choices. You guys will have branching out, and DMs out there, allow your players to have choices.
I love that, like, everybody, when you give us the sheet, like the newspaper, right? Like, everybody in our party took that information totally different, like, from each other. So, like, then, like, when we went into last week and we were, like, talking about, like, what we want to do, and, like, that guy, like, the leader of the Redeemed, like, gave me that stuff, like, go do these things. And everybody's like, we're not supposed to be helping the Oakville Order. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, the Empire are the dicks. Like, yeah, we should help them get rid of the Empire. And they're like, no. Like, the sheet says that they're shitheads and we should, like, blah. And I was like, what? No. What? They're assholes. We need to, like...
Everyone's great and everyone sucks.
But that's what I love. That's what I mean. I love
it wasn't like, all one perspective. Like, cool, bad guys. We're good guys, bad guys.
But it says a lot about your, like, characters, too. Like, of, like, people, like, who, like, Trevor just assumed that, like, well, yeah, we should help the good guys, which is the Empire. Like, we should, like, help drive them out. And I'm like, no, like, we're the resistance. Right. Fuck the system, dude. Like, we gotta, like...
We're the little guys.
Yeah.
Right. Good point. I'm going to tie into what you just said. Is everyone's kind of different perspective. I think last campaign, like, it was a struggle to balance that because everyone was, like, in different directions.
Yeah.
This campaign, I'm kind of embracing it. Like, if at some point we have, out of the 6 characters playing, 1 or 2 characters that just can't get along with the group and it comes to a head, then that's that. We'll continue the story, and if those characters
loop back in or something,
or if they phase out and the players have to re-roll new characters that will align kind of with what the group's trying to do, or pick up an NPC slot, I think that's great. But I think with how ambiguous everything is in this campaign, it's definitely going to happen. We're definitely going to have some dissension, and also our side quests are kind of pulling you guys in different directions.
They are. They are. Like I know that my
the academy thing.
The academy thing. Like a good portion of us want to go to the academy because we have very specific things that either help our character directly or some sort of directive that's sending us that way, and other people have no reason to go there whatsoever.
Like me.
Correct.
Simon has no reason to go to the academy.
No.
So I'm like, and I have no interest in going and sitting in a fucking school.
That's not what Hammond would do at all.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Like, I'm just might end up being like, all right, cool. I'm going to go get my fucking ship. You guys can fuck off. And I'm going to go do whatever.
And we still have the feed store and the blacksmith to worry about too.
Yeah. You guys need you guys have the feed store employed, but you guys have to find a blacksmith. on. Someone that can actually produce for you guys, which in the reality, and this is another mechanical thing I'll get to, which won't be hard. For DMs out there, when you guys roll NPCs, in our situation, our characters need to find someone to run their shop, an NPC. Do I expect them to role play 5 or 6 sessions, going to all these different places? Blacksmith.
Hello?
No.
Yeah.
We'll roll some dice. We'll be like, hey, it took you guys a couple days. You guys had to pay a little bit for advertising. These 2 candidates show up. Which one do you want to choose? And it'll be done in about 15 or 20 minutes. As a DM, it's important to pick and choose your moments of when you're going to role play long stories out and when you're not. Because we role played every little detail. And this is already
that makes sense.
Super slow campaign. It's a super slow start. I mean, we're 8 episodes in and we just hit level 3. So
I'm not even sure if we hit level 3. If we did, we're close.
We haven't yet. We're close.
I don't think we have.
We're close.
Yeah.
Like 150 XP away or something.
But we haven't fought and we haven't crawled any dungeons yet. I would like to crawl some dungeons, but we really haven't had a reason to yet.
But I also think there's like a big buildup in this campaign. Like we're doing a lot. We're not like going anywhere, but we're like there's a lot of things happening.
It's like a lot of political stuff.
Yeah, and like the other thing about like the NPCs for stores and stuff, like I kept trying last week to try to get us. I'm like, let's go to Ecostrad. Like let's go there to like try to find a blacksmith. To
acquire people.
Yeah.
Or like to get other people from other areas to bring like new people to this town. And everybody was like, yeah, like let's like go get this person from like the market. And I'm like, what the fuck? No, like let's go somewhere else. Like we know that there's
Bring
like all this like Oakville shit going on, and like maybe that's how we get like a spy into Paleo Sagero. Is we get a blacksmith who's like aligned with the Oakville Order to come and work our blacksmithing thing.
I like that.
And like,
that's a nice plot line.
Establish like trade routes with Ecostrad through like the blacksmith, which we can then use to smuggle things or smuggle messages or whatever.
So, Ecostrad's going to be super fun. I have a great
I keep trying to get everybody to go there because that's like where all the Viking people are. And everybody's like, yes, I think we're going to like go like to the river and go get fish. And I'm like, fucking god damn it.
I like that.
Yeah. Ecostrad
Fishing.
is kind of a unique place. You have 4 different factions vying for power.
Yeah.
And the current Jarl of Ecostrad really has no bone in the fight with either the Oakfell or the Empire. They're kind of like, it'll be interesting. You'll find that
you have like a third power struggle though in Ecostrad though because of the vampires.
Well, that's one of the 4 factions within. So you have Viking raiders that are controlling the docks. You have vampires within the city that are off their leash because their current covenant leader isn't. You guys will find this out, but he's not really there. You have werewolves in the surrounding areas, not actual werewolves, the descendants of Johann, but like lycanthropy. Oh yeah, Johann might be some hints to Johann coming up soon.
It's my boy, dude.
And then you have the peoples that are not inflicted by any of these things, the actual citizens and the guard of Ecostrad that are kind of struggling. So all of this, and then if you guys decide to go east instead, I have a nice little town set up for you guys east too. But there's so much ambiguity. There's so much for you guys to do. I'm super excited to see where you guys are going to go.
I'm curious, has anybody ever, like, let's say like we level up, we get like level 5 or 6 and we're like, you know what? Like this is all this stuff is bullshit. Like we're going to take Hammond's ship and we're going to like go fucking sail somewhere else. Like, how do you...
I have 2 continents ready to go.
Okay, so
you gotta remember, Arvos comes from a different continent.
I understand. So that's my question is like, is that something that people just do and they're like, whatever, or do you as a DM like redirect that and be like, yeah, so the
lightning bolt
lightning killed your ship and now you're stuck here. So
I guess we can have legs and
it's like the Truman Show. You're like gonna like sail and hit a wall, like
hit a wall,
and they're just like, come back, Truman. So you're not supposed to leave.
This is actually a great question. This is probably where I've grown as a DM. With other groups, I probably would have found a way to keep them focused on what they're doing. With this group, it's made me evolve to embrace that I have to be ready for any change in direction. And if those directions change, rather than fight it, just and sub in. It requires more prep, but it's what I want to do anyway. I mean, I enjoy the world building aspect, so it forces me to not be lazy and build more of the world.
Well, I know through like knowing like other people who play and like their DMs and stuff, like they're very like, this is my world that I've built and this is how things do, which I think is like very constricting to like your players.
It
like
is.
You're saying like, because you can do whatever you want, but this DM has like a dome over his world that's like, but it's got to be right here. Whereas like, if you really want your players to like flourish and like do exactly what they want, you have to be able to just be like, cool, we're going to a new continent.
Right.
Like, what the fuck? Like, this is totally different and, up the wall.
And
so
we also have multi-planes. So we have different planes. We haven't got to any of that yet, but the goal is to keep you guys always something new to explore and to do throughout up to level 20 and beyond. If this campaign allows us to go that far, which I think it will. Which, by the way, I'm just going to take a quick second to say, forget whatever we were going to talk about today. We are recapping Adventaria for this episode because
which I think is totally fine because, I think it's great because this is the kind of commentary you would hope to have after a few episodes to kind of recap and go over where we're at, as well as insight into things that you couldn't have picked up on in the episodes or insight into what could be coming. So
yeah, I think this is great. I'm glad you're here, Garrett.
I know
it caused us to go to a different direction, but I'm actually enjoying this direction.
Yeah.
Well, like this, it's funny because like the stuff, this stuff, all that I wonder is like ties into like my job as a storyteller. So like I consider myself, right, like a DM of like writing books. So like my characters, I never try to like restrict my characters and like my stories to like specific paths. I'm like, oh, well, if this situation arises, like how would this character really react to this situation versus how do I want him to react to this situation? Which I think is like the same as a DM. You're like, somebody comes in and like the last campaign where we fucked your whole campaign up. Like you're like, whoa, I am not prepared to like deal with you kicking this motherfucker's head in because I didn't see that coming, or like I didn't think you would take it that far.
Right.
But now like this is where we are. So now where do we go from here? So I think it's interesting to like
to hash it
see
all
a difference.
Yeah.
Well, and to see a difference between like the way
stick.
people DM. Like I think that like the way you do it, where it's just like, let's just like let it go. Let's let it play out. Like that's a much more interesting like way to do things.
Much more realistic too, because I mean, in real life, there isn't a reset button or something like diverting or smacking you one way or the other.
Bankruptcy.
It's you're literally going to have to live with the choices that were made.
Yeah.
You shoot some dude in the head who is a critical character in the realm or whatever. He doesn't go, he's invincible for that moment. He had a miracle occurred and the bullet ricocheted off his forehead.
Well, that's why I was
fine now.
That's why I was a little disappointed we went back to Paleo Cedro, because like I was like, even though everybody was like hell pissed at me for like fucking everything up by trying to have sex with the Grey Castle, right? Like I was like, this is cool because that's my character. That's what he would have done anyway. So now like it got us kicked out of the town. So now where do we go from here? And you could tell there was like redirection by you because you're like, things need to happen here before we can go other places. So like I got to loop you back into the town. But
it was a bit of it, yeah.
But like I think that's great, like to just be able to like.
And I also had it planned for if you guys didn't go. So there was a chance you guys didn't go.
Yeah.
And basically Paleo Cedro would have basically been raised. And what that would have caused is a huge empire presence.
Yeah.
And basically it would have just brought the conflict of war quicker into the campaign. I mean, that war is impeding. You know, since the start of the campaign in the last 36 days,
Empire.
Oakfell has began to really rise up.
Yeah.
And not that you guys are going to be forced to take a side at all. You guys in your adventures are going to start to see around you the consequences of war and kind of how that happens and how that brings it upon different quests and different missions. And even, I mean, in no way, shape, or form do I expect either you guys to be aligned with either side. It's open to be whichever direction you guys want to go. But there will definitely be atrocities around you guys. My goal is to make you guys feel as players.
I felt Guzma last campaign hard.
Oh, I felt the end of our campaign too. Like when we died and how our characters died, and like I felt gross when Donald just like changed and betrayed us.
Yeah,
like that felt icky.
Fuck this guy, dude.
Like it felt icky because he had protected us so much throughout the whole campaign. At the very end, he's like, "My God says you need to die," and then just turns on you, and just like death.
Yeah,
I was also pissed.
I was also pissed where I was like, oh, I'm going to do this spell and I'm going to like sacrifice myself to save everybody. And he was like, too bad. They overran you and then they killed everybody else. And I'm like, oh no.
There's
Oh no!
there's also still the Temple of Mistra
Yeah.
that still hasn't been explored in Palace. There's a nice little ode to
Not
Guzma in there.
Or to Guzman there.
Yeah, not yet.
So the one thing I wanted to go back to as well about the whole like uproar and us getting kicked out of Paleo Cedro is I actually wouldn't change that at all for our campaign. I'm glad that happened. It sucked for that individual night, but I think up until that point, we didn't really have a reason why our group would hang out at all. We were all just random strangers that just so happened to be new at this town at the same time, in the same location, and our only thread was just that we were new. That's not really enough to hold a group of people together. You might hang out with them for a little bit, but that's not enough to like really grip each other together. But then as we were starting to build some momentum and friendship at that moment, boom, it strikes and you're like, you are now all kicked out of town. So now we're all homeless, essentially. Now we're even more scattered. Now we do have to band together to figure out, okay, well, we might as well help each other. And then we have this then come back into, okay, look, the town we just got kicked out of needs help.
Luckily, the blame was a little spread too.
It was. It wasn't just like you leave.
Similarly, like in contrast to like the last campaign when like we all were just going to kill Sean's character because we're like, oh, he's an outcast. He doesn't make sense. Like the same thing could happen. They could have been like, well, Hammond, you got us kicked out. So like you can fuck off. Like we're going to move on. But instead it was like, oh, like a culmination of he stole from somebody. I tried to hit someone.
There was tears of
tried to fuck this guy's wife. Like Sean was like causing problems with losing his arm.
It was like physical aggravation, verbal aggravation,
sexual aggravation,
and the stimulus to cause those two things. And it's like you can't just pin it on to one person because it was catalyst, physical, verbal, and then just made a stewing pot of issues. But I wouldn't change it at all because I think that makes the story much more interesting. Same thing like with Doothmir's character. I wouldn't change him not losing his arm at all because I think it made him a more interesting character.
That's true.
He has more depth to him now.
It's possible in D&D, like you could later on, he could like regrow his arm or something.
Exactly, or get an attachment or whatever. And I think it makes him more of an interesting character. Even drawing him up, if he used to be drawn up, now you know Dooth. Like as a viewer, you're going to recognize Doothmir immediately. Oh, it's the guy that doesn't have an arm. Like even if you know nothing about all the characters, you just remember guy loses arm. I think his name's Dooth something or whatever. And then you see a guy that doesn't have an arm physically, like, oh, that's the Dooth guy. Like that's how people pick up on things. It seems weird to say it like that simplistic, but really that's how a viewer usually picks things up is simple core constructs before someone like really dives in and knows the details of everyone's lore. It's how do I recognize something visually?
Speaking of Doothmir, he's very lucky his character, the character of Doothmir is still alive.
Yes.
By all rights, he was dead.
He was.
But I really, really didn't want to have poor Sean write off his character 3 episodes in. But if you remember those dice rolls,
those were savage.
Natural ones.
In a row.
It was insane.
On the most basic of things.
That was the night I was gone, right?
Yeah.
Like
they were literally like someone's embracing your arm and holding the potion on his lifeless body in front of you. Just drop it in. And he's like, just roll not a 1. And we're like, 1. He's like, you pour it all over his face.
Yeah, it was gnarly. It was great though. Palisadro, you guys have renown there now, which is important for the company.
Yeah, we're the company.
So you guys have kind of like a safe haven established now. You guys have some income established. You guys have some more income in the works in this area as well that you guys have been, does everyone know what's going on with your game plan?
I don't think everybody does. No. I've like told, like I think Lux knows. I think you know.
About your ship?
Brothel.
Oh, well, you said it. You said you were going to make
but like I didn't like make it known that like I planned to like build this brothel and like use it to basically like become like the little finger of Paleo Cedro. That like, oh, if we need to like assassinate Empire members, like cool, I get my like girls to like bring them in or guys to bring them in and then like
and actually this is the first time they're hearing about it because last time we talked about it we had muted the stream as we got into details.
Well, and mostly I wanted it muted because I wanted to like I wasn't sure if it was something that he was gonna like let me do or if like how that would work. And I'm like, oh, I have this idea, which like takes me into like something else I was gonna ask you. So like you mentioned like the Johan character, right? Like obviously we know who Johan is like from the past campaign and stuff like that. Yeah. So like as the DM, like let's say we go to Extrad and we have a run in we get like brought in by werewolves and like Johan comes out. Like how much bullshit can like we as characters like self-write into the story? Like let's say we go in there and I'm like, I know who you are. Like my grandfather's best, like my grandfather raided with, Vargor, blah, blah, blah. And like, I know you, whatever. Do you say like, oh, you're trying to deceive him? Or do you just accept that as like, oh, this is a pretty good story aspect. Like, I'll let that stay.
With pitching in, because we have some things that are going to come into play from last campaign. I will say this. The fawn that Nodnil saved, that is God told to save, is incredibly important in the world of Adventaria currently into this campaign. Okay? And that will be revisited. I won't say anymore. But on like Johan, if someone's...
And actually, in general, I'm just using that as an example.
It's a good example.
I know of Johan. Or Gert. Oh, he was the last tiefling known to wander Adventaria before the Scourge. Yeah. Because Gert didn't die either.
Yeah.
These characters or these the green the drow who's the drow, I'm sure you guys put this together, but the drow that Anders currently hanging out with, Stava, she's the last drow of, if you guys remember, the elves you ran into in the second episode with the green dragon.
Yeah.
There's a reason you're praying in her temple of Melora and you have a pseudo dragon and you have the backstory you have. Eventually those things
that all makes sense.
will play into each other.
I didn't even think about that.
So a lot of these things I'll bring full circle, and if it's great for the story and you guys just want to be like, well, okay, can I metagame and say this for a second? I'm like, yeah, your character would have that knowledge. That's pretty common. It'll be pretty common that Johan was known as the last alpha because Vargor wasn't well known, and Johan showed up.
So you were a middleman, essentially. If he ended up being an alpha, let's say 50 years or something.
How dare you?
But like, let's say if he was an alpha for 50 years or something. I don't know how old a werewolf can naturally live, but let's just say he was for 50 years. He would
deceased.
Be fairly insignificant. You would be, a small percentage.
But I just mean like as far as tying like let's say they're all going to kill us. Like they're going to kill us. Yeah. They're like, we don't fucking like you. You guys fucked up and whatever. And you're like, wait a minute, Johan, like you were friends with my uncle and blah, blah, blah. And you like create that character connection, like that would essentially like get you out of a situation, or like you're basically improving a way to get out of it by like using like,
it's kind of like if it's creative enough. It's kind of like if you're saying if it's creative enough,
and as long as it doesn't hinder or it doesn't contradict something he has already built for the story.
Right.
But like, I just mean like, at what point do you like
draw the line where you're like,
the line of
that's
like
bullshit, lop that off.
Like, well, everything, like I've tried to do it in the past, and he's like, roll for deception. And I'm like, fuck, I'm not trying to deceive anybody. I was just trying to like say something about my character
that could be true to your character.
That could be true to my character, but I don't know, right? Like we haven't discussed it.
Right.
So like, at what point do you just say like, no, like you're basically making this up. So like, if you're making it up, you're rolling for deception, or
I think that's
cool. Like I'll leave that.
It's part of a backstory that wasn't discussed before that, like you said, will break a current progression in the story, or break the outer wall with other characters getting involved.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Which would be pretty rare. And I think, again, it's built, at this point now I have it built to where contradiction is accepted. I won't fight back against it. I will adapt because everything's so fluid now. It's like a choose your own adventure. Whereas as a DM growing up, it was, okay, they have 2 or 3 options.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm a better DM.
It's a fork in the road. Now it's a 4
options. And then it came to they have 1 option. And now it's like, you know what? They have to have limitless options because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if people are going to start collecting feet, and all of a sudden that's a weird little thing.
Interchangeable nodes, like little bubbles. Instead of it being a plank, it's little bubbles, and they can choose one here and over here and over here and over here, and they kind of string them together their own way, however they cross into those bubbles. More flex. And
so when it comes to like building what you want to see happen with players, like encounters I want you guys to face, there's a lot of times where if you have a series of dominoes, there's a lot of times I'm pulling a domino out and just putting it
in another
at a different spot when I see fit. So like Anders' thing, that's a domino that we've actually had 3 instances now that we could have inquired into Anders' backstory, which is eventually going to come out. And it's just a constant move because I want it to be natural and organic. I don't want Honor to come up all of a sudden and be like,
This is my
Hammond,
life
yo,
story.
I need to talk to you for a minute.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. And we're like, whoa, that hit me.
That's
heavy.
weird. This
Came
guy's a
out of
weirdo.
nowhere.
You want to kill him? Yeah.
yeah. Well, and I think it's too like less of those dominoes will be pulled out like the more experience we get. Like you already see like I feel like a huge difference between like our first campaign and this one. Like the way we interact, the way we like you know search and do things.
There's a lot better role playing happening.
Not even role playing. I'm just mean like as far as like
Understanding the mechanics
of the game and understanding like, oh, maybe I should check this. Or like Lux is constantly like, hey, can I go see if I can do this?
Right.
Like, can I go see if I can fucking make some weird potion and do some crazy shit? Like,
Right.
Which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and like
He's
nobody,
come
like last
so
campaign,
far.
he wouldn't have thought of that. He'd be like, cool.
He wouldn't just say anything.
Whatever.
Yeah.
He would just been waiting until we got to the dungeon.
Taggart as a player is just his entire development and since we started playing D&D is insane.
It's a lot.
It's huge. And I wish he would, because if he just puts in a little more confidence to take more scenes and take a spot in more scenes.
Well, I think he takes it to heart, like I'm the
aloof.
well, not even that, I'm the you know, stay back in the shadows cat figure,
he does it really well too.
Whatever, and he does that well, but he also like needs to be like not just the shy cat, but being like the ferocious lion. You know what I mean? Like like using his like stealth and like his like killerness.
I know that's.
like,
I find I helped him develop
like his
character.
intensity. His intensity
Yeah.
could be ramped up to be like to take, like he said, like take over a scene. You know what I mean?
I feel like this is a fault of my own. I helped him develop his character, like his early on backstory and stuff, and I also helped develop his actual physical like stat sheet out and everything like that. So I know a lot about his character. So we're in certain scenarios. I like look over on him and I'm like
do this. Like what?
I can't make you do this, but I'm like the archery thing. He wasn't going to do it at all. He had very little interest in it. And I'm like, bro, you have like 7 dexterity. Like you can blink and shoot the arrow and get a bullseye. Like it doesn't matter. I'm like, you need to enter this. You're gonna. And he was like, oh yeah, I'll enter. And I'm like, you got to remember. I'm like, you're so good at these certain things, like stealthing. Like if we're going down a path, I'm like. Hey, Cat, would you like to run up ahead and see what's going on? Because I'm like, you can like be invisible essentially to anything, and you have such good perception. And I'm like, Yo has very basic stats. My stats are all like just mediocre across the board. I don't have any like +5s or +7s or anything.
What I think is funny about like our group too is that like our characters are very indicative of ourselves. Like
it always happens that way.
Like, well, not always, because most people play D&D, right? To like as a way to be somebody they're not, like to be like to play a character that they're not in real life,
right?
And like I feel like we've only played twice, but I feel like this campaign more than anything, like everybody's characters is so similar to themselves as a person that like it's both a strength and a weakness.
Sorry, Arvos.
Yeah, you fucko, dude. You fucko. But like you look at Taggart's character and like Lux is very similar to Taggart as a person. He's very reserved, very like precision friendship. Like very like careful and methodical about like how he like interacts with people. The like Hammond, the fucking like belligerent idiot who like just runs his mouth and like gets into trouble all the time for saying what's on his mind. That is me all the time.
It's like a 200% version of ourselves.
It is. It's literally an amplified version of our own personality. So like, and like Tames' character, like Arvos is very much an amplified version of Trevor. Like he's like just happy-go-lucky, fun, like big luggy idiot. Like that's that's it. And that's like,
but everyone has to have
good.
morale.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Like,
no,
it's good, but it's just funny that like most other people are like, you have like the short, like Rachel plays a character. Like my wife will play a character and it'll be like, oh, I am like elf who's like cunning and like all this other shit, like everything that Rachel's not,
right?
Because she's like, oh, this is cool. I get to like be in this frame of mind and like be this
different,
be like this for a while. And I'm like, well, that's cool. I'm just gonna be me and just be a big dumb Viking idiot,
right? And then I think that's Sean, who is 10% Russian in real life. So then 200% Russian.
Yeah, basically. But I think that's cool. Like I think that's like it's kind of a unique thing for our campaign that like people. Like I've had people ask me that have watched our D&D. They're like, oh, that's cool. Like they think that we're playing other. And I'm like, no. I am Hammond.
Speaking of D&D and people watching.
Yeah.
The amount of people I interact with on a day-to-day basis that play D&D
Yeah.
my customers or people at the gym. They're like, hey man, saw you last night. You know, AK, we all know AK. He's one of my clients. He has a bunch of different businesses here in town that I do. And I was doing one of his businesses the other day, and the guy behind the counter is like, hey man. I'm like, hey, what's up? He's like, I love your guys' D&D show. I'm like, thanks, man.
That's awesome.
I was like, that's super cool.
Yeah.
And one of my good friends who is going to be, he'll be a phenomenal guest, and he'll help us do kind of a one-shot one of these days when we have, because what I'll like to do is, obviously we all have busy schedules. There'll be times where one or two of us will be gone, and those will be good times. I'll bring in a guest, and it'll still be the same story, but it'll be like a one-shot dungeon with a guest, so I can still balance it.
Like Sean says it. Yeah.
And it allows other players to get involved. And, I think guests are just healthy for any show. Yeah. But he's like, yeah, man, we watch, and him and a bunch of the kids at our the club at Sun Oaks have a D&D group together. Yeah. And I just did another client's house where I walked in, and I'm like, that's a sick table. I know what that is. It's like, you guys play D&D? Like, yep. Every Tuesday and Saturday night, we have 2 different groups. It's just exploding everywhere.
Yeah. It is a lot more than I initially
escapism.
thought.
And like, in this current climate, like everybody wants it.
And togetherness. Like bringing the people you want around you more regularly while being able to
it's just like gives you a chance to like not think about all the real bullshit that's going on.
Yeah. You get to interface with people you like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For the most part.
Just kidding. You have to be around me most of the time. So
I really just want to go back to the 80s. I mean, that's why I play D&D. Eventually,
do you though? Because here's the thing: 90% of where D&D is at has happened over time.
It has.
If you go back and play 80s style D&D, it's very different from D&D right now.
It is so difficult, but it's basically just a dungeon grinder.
That's what I mean. Like
we keep the progression, but we slowly progress back into the all denim outfits, long big hair. The dangly tooth earring on one side.
Well, if my middle name
jackets everywhere.
Well, if my middle name ain't George Michael.
a little cross earring. Isn't that what he used to wear?
Hey man, you gotta have faith.
Jacket, gotta have faith.
Gotta have faith.
Man, what a good time. So for us to just cycle back to that.
Yeah, like the 8 months that I was in the 80s.
I remember it was pretty dark.
I was gloomy in the 80s.
Really warm.
Like portrayed in movies, which is always 100% accurate.
What do you mean you were never in the 80s?
No.
I was born in 93, man.
Yeah, he was never in the 80s.
He's younger than us?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, because he's so old.
Baby.
He's a baby.
He's the baby.
He's a baby.
He's the baby.
Oh my God.
A wee bab.
Oh,
yeah.
Just feeds into the tennis persona and everything too.
Oh, shit.
Like now you're like a baby that plays tennis. And you're like, oh, look at you with your little tennis racket.
Look, Mom!
Yeah. So I played against a kid in high school, where I kid you not, his father, when he was younger, would tape a ping pong paddle to his hand.
And that was you.
No. Someone I played with.
Plot twist. Plot twist.
Oh, I love plot twists, especially when it comes to D&D. We've had some great ones, and we have some big ones.
I think I'd be a great and a terrible DM, because I love to fuck with people. And so I think like I would get too into like
just trapping everybody,
just fucking everybody up.
You're an infinite loop.
Wink's campaign's like survival mode in any video game you've ever played.
Yeah.
He'd be like, oh yeah. So this is where we started in the campaign. We started in a crater because we were in a stasis for 1,000 years. And we wake up and he's like, yeah. So now you guys have a 7-day journey to the next town. Oh, by the way, each day roll for exhaustion and see if you're dying. We almost died before we made it even to the first town. Which exhaustion is a legitimate thing. But everything in his game is like,
that's fantastic.
It's so hard. It's fun. And then sometimes it's so frustrating as a player. You just like, flip the table and walk up. Like there's been times I'm like, you know what? I have to take a break. Wink. There's some BS.
Bleed out.
It's fantastic.
But it's a lot of fun. It's and that's just DM styles. I could see your DM style where it's just, I feel like yours would have so many dark little pitfalls. That would be super fun.
It also
I think it'd come out of nowhere. Yeah, I was
waterfalls made of weed.
Potfalls. By the way, your guys' attempt to get Leaf and Mary and sell it and everything was great last episode. It's just there was so much going on for that NPC.
Yeah.
that it just...
It was
Overloaded.
It was a lot. It was so much. Yeah.
I was trying to play the fried NPC, and I'm like, what would this fried NPC do? Fried NPC
fried
by
NPC
this
like,
point
oh.
is like...
You're like, there's a lot going on right now.
It's like too much for me right now. Hello.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the Harvest Festival? Did you guys enjoy it?
I swear to God, I thought it was a joke or based around Parks and Recreation. And you were like, I don't know what that is. And I was like,
How do you...
what?
Well, I mean, Harvest Festivals are like a real thing.
Yeah, I know. But it's like,
I know, but do you not watch Parks and Recreation?
I do.
Okay.
So like that's a huge event in Parks and Recreation, like the Harvest Festival.
That's the one where they have the pony, right?
Yeah, and they lose him in the corn
Yes.
maze and all that, and like it's like revitalizes the town's finances and shit. And I'm like, oh, that's funny. Like our town just burned down, and like now we're having a
need this
Harvest
event to,
Festival to
like,
try to like
bring
bring the
people
town
in,
together. And I was
like,
like,
bring
it's a
foreigners
Parks and
in.
Rec reference. Like that's what this is. And you were like, what? And I was like, oh no, he's stupid.
No, I just think the
young.
Parks and Rec writers are super talented. Great minds must think alike.
Got him, dude.
Sure, that's what it is.
I tried to incorporate like a bunch of different events with like unique rewards. What I really wanted to showcase was D&D doesn't have to be straight combat, straight role play. Like you can throw in a ton of mini games, a ton of little things to kind of break things up. And what I really like to do before I have dramatically horrible episodes is have really nice, fun episodes. And last week was a really nice, fun episode. I call it The Walking Dead. Personally, I call it the Walking Dead build-up because what The Walking Dead does phenomenally is you have the first half of the season is a constant good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, but nothing super dramatic. And then they have the break. And the second half season, it's like this build up. And then the episode right before the season finale, you have this great sort of everything kind of comes together. There's explanations for
like
all the
Maggie
bad
finding out
things.
she's pregnant and blah, blah,
Positive
blah. And then,
things.
oh, cool, Glenn's dead.
And then the next episode is just absolute slap in the face. And they do it so well. Even,
Like a perfect example was the Doctor when they made like was it Alexandria? What is that? Is that the town they
Alexandria
made,
was
right?
one of their places.
And remember the young girl that was like the nervous, like she was with Tara, like she was like the young nervous doctor, and she finally like figures out like she finally like gets her like anxiety under control, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna like be this thing and whatever, and then she's like out with Ford and just like an arrow through her fucking eyeball, and you're like, oh no,
The end.
my heart.
I know.
The end.
Yeah.
And Sasha, when her death in The Walking Dead was great too and tragic. I mean, finally rebounded from the loss of Bob and finally has a vocal leadership role and dead.
Side note, fuck The Walking Dead, but anyway, so D&D.
Yeah, I know. As we get off topic. But it's all storytelling. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all storytelling.
I was thoroughly frustrated by the fucking Harvest Festival because all I wanted to do was go to the goddamn bank. And you're like, it's a holiday, the bank's closed. And I was like,
I really like the part where you died to food. That was awesome.
Just wait.
I loved it.
And tomorrow, Cylindas, which is Sunday in the D&D character, and bank's closed on Sunday, man.
You got Cylindas.
Cylindas.
I'm going to be, you guys go do your thing. I'm going to take a long rest.
I'm going to take a 24-hour long rest.
I need to help my AHP.
Yeah. I also loved the Sean like fighting me after I like smacked him, and he just like instead of taking the L, like he's like,
He didn't get it.
all right, bro, let's go. I was like, roll for initiative. I was like,
Oh.
I'm gonna kill this tiny man. And Wink was like, sleep, and we're like, fuck.
I looked at Wink and I was like, put him to sleep.
That whole scenario after the fact was hilarious.
Yeah.
So great.
During the fact, and so as a DM, this is kind of a little segment. As a DM, what I should have done better is at the start of the campaign, laid out appropriate, not appropriate for the world that you're in. And as a DM, right. It is 100% your decision to be like, look, I'm not okay with homophobia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not okay with rape or any of those, anything of likeness. And I'm not okay with, whatever it may be. Those are things that are always appropriate to lay out before a DM campaign.
Just because you don't know where a person might think their character might think. Like your version of a dark character, let's just say, versus the other person's opinion of a dark character might be wildly different.
Right.
Like, oh, I'm a dark
threshold.
elf. You're like, oh, I want to like do all these terrible things. Whereas your terrible thing is like, oh, you don't help the good guys today.
Oh,
Yeah.
you walked past a puppy and didn't pet it?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have one character's like, I'm going to kick the puppy.
Repeatedly.
Yeah.
As a
so
spell.
you have different levels of what people's threshold and their comfort is.
Yeah.
But I like how organic everything played out after it, but during it, it's just a trip. You're just like, oh.
We're like, oh.
Well, that's why my immediate reaction when it happened, I was like, I hit him.
Yeah.
And so,
Because I'm like,
good.
I was hoping I could hit him
good.
hard enough that he would like, it would fuck him up
Or
and
be
he'd be like
stunned or
out of the
something.
scene or something. And I'm like, let me just hit him. Like, let me just fucking, I thought about hitting him with my axe. And just like put him in the fuck. No, like, no.
Cleave them in half.
we had a studio meeting backstage after that.
We did,
in our
yes.
intermission.
Yeah.
And I felt bad because here I am like, now, children.
You're right.
Listen very carefully.
Play nice. We don't do these things.
And I just look over and he's like,
And he was like, I did.
totally. I just spit everywhere.
I mean-
totally my fault. My bad.
Defeated.
I mean, you shouldn't feel bad though.
But what I mean is, as a DM, don't do what I made the mistake of doing, and make sure everything's clear up front. Because I didn't lay down any
Ground rules.
Don't reference this, don't reference that at the beginning of the campaign. I'm just like, all right, guys, have fun. With our group,
That's
a
lot.
little risky.
We have some spiky moments.
We're spicy sometimes.
Yeah, this guy will. Chili killed this guy in the show.
Oh my
The
god.
chili actually killed him. That's how spicy it can be.
I love it
Was
so much. Oh, I need my
amazing.
water bottle. Damn it. I need my natural one. Guess I'll
Natural
die.
one. Guess I'll die.
Guess I'll die.
Yeah, that was so much
I
fun.
thought that was fantastic. Also,
great.
like, I also like love that you just, after you found out I hadn't gotten my new HP, you just made me stay with 15. And I'm like, this sucks. I took 9 damage from chili.
15 is what you had at level 2?
No, I have a level 1. I started with
you know,
15.
I started with 8.
Yeah, I started with 15.
Level 1, you're basically just like a leaf blowing in the wind.
Yeah, you started you having 15. I have 16 now at
But I'm
level
a
2.
Viking.
At level 2, I have 16.
Yeah.
I know, but that's, so I'm saying, like, I would have been nice though.
You're there with like 23 health.
Which, by the way, a Viking class for people watching, because
You're not quite over
we've
it.
never gone over this.
well,
Viking
'cause-
is a homebrew class.
Yeah.
It's essentially a barbarian where his danger sense and some of those other traits are nerfed, but it's made up with chance and a path that allows you druidic spells later on. So you're basically going to, at level 3, be able to start picking spells out of the druid slot, but then you also are ferocious, as a Viking would be, and then the chant mechanic, which I have a lot of fun with. It's just there's a lot of
I
fine
love that.
tuning.
It's like one of my favorite things.
Is kind of a homebrew class that I've worked on for a long time, and I'm super excited it's being played.
I'm curious, like, is there a way that we, since Viking is a homebrew class, like, is there a way we could homebrew spells?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, make
it's
some
just
Viking specific ones?
we could.
Like, if I helped
It's
you
just a
write them?
constant. Yeah, do it. It's a constant balance, but I'm all for it.
But I think, like, because the druid spells, obviously, like, it works for druids or whatever, but I feel like if you're going to have a class, like a Viking class, I feel like if you have spells that are specific to, like, doing things that are, like, very Viking-ish, right? Like, you could even make it comedic, like Wall of Ale.
Well, even like,
Where literally instead of a wall of water, like it's literally like mead, and you're like, like up against like whatever.
if you have
like
like
funny things like that.
Tangle instead of vines that come up, it could
Celtic
be like
knots, like
it could be like ropes from a ship.
Yeah.
like a fish,
that's
fish
tight.
net
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
comes up or whatever and like sinks you in.
Kind of nautical like.
Yeah.
There's tons of stuff like that, though.
there's so
Like
many.
those kinds of things like that. Like if you got to a point where like, you know, like you showed me that video of like the intro thing, like if you had a video of people doing stuff like that, like spells, you'd be like, oh, that's a Viking spell. Like I know that spell. That's not just like Wall of Fire.
Yeah.
Like that's Fenrir's Howl. Like I know that like when I use that spell, nobody else can use it because they're not a Viking. And it's like druid spells can be used by multiple classes, right? So you like make things that are like Viking spells.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody can use them if you don't have like that path.
Viking kind of reminds me of like it's kind of like a paladin barbarian without the religion. Well, no, he still has a religion
He has
too.
religion, yeah.
So it's like a paladin barbarian because paladins remind me of something that is it's kind of like a knight, but also they have like AoE healing stuff. They're very like just and they're like buff
Paladins
individual,
are-
like buff the group type thing, but he's
do.
not individual like strength. Barbarian's just like raw man strength and just like
Paladins are
brute.
interesting.
Yeah, and they're like somewhere in the
because
middle.
Yeah.
Paladins past like level 5 have a truly unique feel. But up until then, they're basically like a cleric 2.0.
Yeah. A cleric that might swing at something.
Yeah. But they definitely start to ramp up, which is nice.
And I think there's like mechanics you can introduce with that too, about being like, if there's these spells that only Vikings can use, then when you're gone from the group, like the group feels it because you're like, oh shit, we can't use this.
There's things
Like
different.
that sucks. You know?
I love the idea of homebrew, and I love the idea of collaborative homebrew. So other people pitching in, like Wink's Spells Fumbles. He wrote all those back in the 80s. That entire binder he has is from the 80s.
Yeah.
And so there's different collaborative efforts.
Yeah.
And Clarendon, which is one of our towns, and
Yeah.
we'll have some interesting plot points to it. It was basically your homebrew.
Yeah,
So
my first one.
Yeah.
One thing I want to talk about, which to me seems just absolutely insanely busted, that we just acquired, is it Darren's Cube?
Darren's Cube.
That sounds-
Well, it's Darren's Instant Castle.
That sounds okay. In my head, where my brain goes, because I think video games, right?
Uh-huh.
And I think about how do you use something to the best of its ability. First thing, you were like brothel. I'm like, cool, yeah, that makes sense. You'd have an instant location for brothel, but then it's like another person was like,
with installed security measures, essentially.
I was thinking we now have like our own great castle. We essentially become lords of this whole town with this thing because it's a god castle. But amongst that, you could break the system with like
It's essentially one big tower.
right.
Well,
But like,
build off.
imagine if you were because its effect is if you don't know how to enter it, right?
Yeah,
It like shoves you back and it's like
10d10
10d10 damage or
Yeah.
something.
No. If you don't know how to enter it, you can't enter it. It's once you throw it on the ground and say the command word, and it expands. If you're within a range,
You're
you
within
take
it,
the
it takes
10d10, which I'm nerfing, by the way.
Okay, thank you.
You're not going to just be able to
That's
throw
what
it
an
like
enemy.
your
That's
grenade.
exactly what I was gonna say. I was like, we can enter anywhere, and they'd be like, the dragon comes from the sky. I'm like, Darren's Cube. It's just like,
Which,
just
by the
like
way,
blow them up, and I'm like,
said the
that's
same
busted. I'm
thing.
like, Avada Kedavra, give me it back.
a
Put it back in my pocket.
10d10 is 100 points of damage if you roll it perfectly.
Perfectly, right.
Starting at level 3, challenge rating 3, most monsters have around 120 health to start. So while even though
It could still do a lot.
Even though godlike, it
could,
still
it could.
doesn't insta kill.
But the other thing that like I thought of when we were talking about that is that's actually not that large of a tower.
It's not
like
huge.
everybody really was like, oh, this is a castle. If
It's
you think
not.
about it, like a 20 by 20 like building is not that big. Like that's this right here.
it's like a watchtower.
That's what I mean. But I'm like, everybody's like, oh yeah, this like math. I'm like,
I think
it's
the
not
word
that
castle
much.
is what deceived our brains.
It
Because you
is.
see a castle, and I was like,
yeah. So I'm like, yeah, it is cool. It is a really cool, awesome like thing to have in game. But like, it's
Not a
not
place
an
to
end all
live.
be all. Like that
it's
thing
not a
is
place.
not.
It's not a place to live. It's
Yeah.
more so like we need to get a look out on this perch of this mountainside or whatever.
it's instant
Boom,
camping.
It's just camping.
guys have-
It's
you guys constantly
oh, we
have a
find a
safe
place to
place
rest
to
for the night.
rest.
Now we can sleep in it safely,
Not
without
on
having
the
to worry about
ground.
like fairies coming and fucking
Hibby-jibby in
Correct.
our
our
brains.
dreams or whatever. Like while we're sleeping.
Yeah, eventually I want you guys to purchase a house in Paleocedro. Like that would be ideal.
I'm
and
gonna-
then you guys can customize what you guys want to do with the house, how many rooms, and then add-ons on the house will come with perks. If you guys build like an alchemy lab, every 7 days you guys come home, there will be a greater potion of healing for each member.
Yep.
Or stables, you get a horse every however many days, or whatever it may be. I have a list of those that I'll hand out. When you guys come to that point, and basically you'll have a Hearthstone that you guys can teleport into your home after long adventures. Instead of making the crazy travel back, you're home. You always have like that sort of safe little
Go
bubble.
back to.
Yeah.
So the part of the things that like I'm not, I guess you'll know and they'll know, but like the rest of the party won't know. So the whole point is when I hire these people to build a brothel, I'm already building us like an underground base underneath the brothel.
Is that something you're capable of doing at medieval
got
times? Like
labor.
having an under. I mean, like
Labor, you can dig down and build over the top of the ground. Like
that'll
that's,
be a little more expensive. That'll be like
yeah.
But
But my plan is to go to the bank in secret, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and be like, okay, cool. Like, I'm going to put down 350 gold as a deposit, or
Right.
whatever. In exchange, I want 5,000 gold,
Mm-hmm.
pay back over a year, right? And like, I'm going to build this fucking awesome,
my
huge
DM guy,
thing.
because I have the actual prices now for you guys.
And the point was to then bring you guys in and be like, yeah, so maybe I got us a place. And you're like, here's this thing now.
what you guys could do and I'm just what I would do. I'm not saying you guys should, but this is what I would take that town and I would fortify the hell out of it and get all those people, your people,
Yeah.
and make it your own little town.
That's why when we came back into town from like fishing, I was like, well, I'm going to give all my fish away.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need this.
Yeah, the people love you.
So,
you guys have the
cool,
renown.
like-
You guys actually last episode, you had certain renown points for winning whichever events you guys were in.
Yeah.
And you guys actually have capped over the renown for the area.
Well,
Which
like
means
the
you guys
big-
are heroes of the area.
Well, and the big thing is that like
You guys are Anders level.
I want to use the brothel as like a way to like score points with everybody. I want to give everybody a job if they need one. I want to like, I want people to like come there and be like, I want to run that town essentially.
What I would do too is run it multi-purpose brothel, but something else, maybe a bathhouse or something. Because brothel, the citizens of Palisadro, some of them will have it issue with that, and that'll be something I roll on for. Okay, who's okay with it, who's not?
Yeah.
But if it's a multi-purpose business, then everyone's gonna look the other way, like, oh yeah, half of it's a brothel, but half it's
a daycare.
bathhouse we need.
We got a bunch of single moms around. They got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Their shifts don't start till later.
Yeah.
Drop your kids off. They'll have a great time.
It's so much fun to see you guys scheming like this, like, oh, I want to build this, I want to do this, because it just makes things phenomenal. And then
I'm worried about telling you stuff though, because then I'm like, damn, you can plan to like get around my
campaign 3 2 years from now, you guys can come visit the company brothel. You know what I mean? Like, since everything's apparently the company feed store,
we didn't agree on
company blacksmith.
Yeah. What
What is
company
the town?
iron.
It's called the company town.
Company
Feed.
town. Feed.
Metal.
Eat. Sex.
His firstborn will be the company. Firstborn.
The company.
First like that's in company. Yeah. The company. It's amazing. Get over here too.
Yeah. I think it's amazing.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think this is a good point to wrap it up for today.
Yeah.
And Garrett, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, buddy.
It was a blast. We got to...
So much fun.
This was a lot of fun. We might do this every few episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the other shows out there have like talk shows after the fact. And I can see why, because it's so much fun.
It is. We had to talk about the things that we can't talk about those.
Well, you don't want to
things
take up
in
the time,
character.
and you don't want to take up the time during the campaign to be like, can we metagame real quick? Like, what is this? Or like out of character. Like, I hate taking up time to be like, out of character. Like, what is blah 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 blah. Like, I would rather like do it in this
So if you're just
format.
experienced, you don't need to.
And I just want to like go into a situation and just like go.
No. Yeah.
By the way, super exciting information. So while I work my graveyards, I have been working on a Wikipedia page. You know how you have branchpedias?
Yeah.
For Adventaria.
Dope.
So,
shit.
Yeah,
lore archives and episode recaps and
You
stuff
call them
like
archives?
that. Archives. Did I say archives?
Is it archives?
You put them on.
You put like a little bit of chives on that
It's
shit?
Our
Chives.
And they're the best chives ever.
Our chives.
Archives.
Yeah.
Words escape me sometimes.
Yeah.
It's
And then we
'cause
can
I
have
use
art
too
for
many
it,
of them.
and they have
I know, I like
we can have
picking up on
we can have dedicated art
Yeah.
for these things. Like, oh, I need this creature drawn.
and
and
that
this
would
Yeah,
brand,
yeah.
And they can refer to those things.
Yep. And we're going to get that established here pretty soon. I will have players next week.
Can
give you
you
guys a little bit of
insert
homework.
audio on those things?
Yeah, I'm pretty
You
sure
can, yeah.
Like on
Yeah.
like on the character page.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You go to like the Hammond page, like you could put an audio clip of like me saying my character.
Yeah, it can link to
pretty
an audio.
sure,
Yeah,
because,
because you can link to other things.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
You could have each character like, oh,
with their
Marvel's
audio
bike.
and
Yeah.
and then
yo,
Patreon.
and I can't talk good. Hey, you
We have a logo now.
Yeah, we do have a logo.
Everything ready to go for Patreon. So
Wait, Patreon's ready to go?
All we needed was the logo and then to write it up.
and
I wanted the logo. That was something that was important to me. I was like, it needs to have a face first.
Yeah.
people
and then we
need
can
to
go from
know
there.
what they're looking at.
Exactly. It needs to have something that they can visually,
Which, by the way, the logo is beautiful.
It is.
Thank you. I don't
Rich
remember the
Bloom.
name, so
Rich
shout
Bloom.
it out.
Rich Bloom.
Rich Bloom. Mm-hmm.
Rich
Yes.
Bloom, you did an amazing job. I didn't tear up in front of these guys because they can't see any weakness for me. But I went home and I was like, that's Adventaria.
It's Adventaria.
That's Adventaria.
All shiny and pretty.
In front of these guys, I was like,
I mean, it's all right. Oh,
that's
it's pretty cool logo.
that's pretty dope, man. It's pretty rad.
That's dope, bro.
That's righteous.
righteous, bro. That's dope lit fam, guys.
Dope lit.
Well, now that he's in jail, we know he
Yeah.
talks like that. Now that we know, like, your generation started lit, so thanks for that.
I think it was the generation
Are you like
just after mine.
what's the new one for the wee little babies?
Generation X.
Is Generation Z?
Z?
I don't know.
No,
You're
he's,
one of
What are we,
no, he's with
Pokemon
us.
now?
You're a wee will baby.
We got X, Y,
He's
Z.
one of us. He's in our category for
will, baby.
millennial.
You
But
will
he's the
baby.
generation.
What year are you
He's
guys
generation.
born?
He's the cutoff.
89.
90.
Yeah, I mean, 4
He's
years.
he's
3
the
years.
4 years.
He's
4
the
years
generation.
after.
He's the cutoff. Like right underneath him is wheat type.
So
up.
you're 26.
Yes.
Fucking Christ. So if you think about though, like think about the difference though between Taggart's 22.
23.
You're the same age?
Yeah.
Bro, what? That doesn't make any sense, see?
Wait, Trevor, did you think I was younger or older?
I thought you were older. I thought you were the same age as Garrett.
I thought you were like 33.
I all the whole time to your age.
I'm
I don't.
26. Sean's
Yeah.
20.
All right, guys, I gotta start acting more. Hey,
Ah, shit, man.
Ah, shit. Hell lit.
Gang, gang.
Gang, gang.
my name's Drew, and I'm lit. You guys want to get some AirPods and
Some air
Crocs and
Crocs?
dude, I don't know how to
See,
be a
you're
kid.
40.
No,
Like, that's how a 40-year-old talks.
You guys want to unlock your shirts and untuck your
guys
shirt?
want to party, dude?
let's go get raw with the claw and hit up
Raw with the claw, dude.
Bloomingdale's. what store do kids go to?
Let's untuck our shirts and get all riled up at hometown buffet.
He picked like the whitest uppity like clothing store. Like you could have.
Let's go to
Let's go to Bloomingdale's and play tennis. Yes.
I can't do it.
Let's untuck our shirts and get weird at hometown.
God damn.
Right?
Dude,
It's the worst.
I'm bummed hometown's gone. I would never eat there.
I'm bummed they're out of business. I would have never given them my money, but I'm sad they're out of business.
For the last 8 years of my life, every time we drove by, I'm like, why is that
Go,
still
how
here?
is that still a business?
How is that here? I remember in like
I've seen enough-
1997, I was like, I went there, I was like, this is okay. And I was 7.
Who doesn't like sweat and hair in their food?
Me?
I just don't like things that are heated for 12 hours.
You're an elitist.
Am I? Of the two of us, which does more elite stuff? Between the two of us. Oh, my trust fund.
This is my favorite thing to do.
By the way, if anyone wants to donate to a GoFundMe for a trust fund,
Yes.
it'd be great.
We would need to get
That's the trust fund of the millennial. Is
Yes.
GoFundMe. And he broke the mic.
Oh, no.
Fell down.
I'm entitled to.
I'm entitled to.
elitist.
We're ending this episode. We're
Yeah.
so
All right. That's exactly what I was
End it.